Greetings, hello.
Hello.
We have come back after a long time to keep our word. In a previous video, down the way there, called Giving Thanks. First, give thanks. As we woke up this morning, we gave thanks and we remembered that we had wanted to tell you why it is that some books that you may find cost $700 that were of the Redemptive series. The reason is that Senior Pastor had either signed them or they had been presented and Senior Pastor personally gave them to somebody, but that it was within the circle of where the entire thing originated. And why is this important? I wanted to touch on this and make this specifically for those who watched that video. It's important because once the word is in you, that has become a place where Father dwells. And so naturally, when you come close to it, a place like that in someone, there's no separation of that light, there's no separation of that grace, there's no separation of that faith, and there's no separation of that word, spirit, or consistency. You know that you're very close to what you've been believing in, what you've been hoping in, what you've wanted to see, what you've longed for. So there were some very special moments when Senior Pastor was alive that God came down and hovered over a lot of people, letting us experience a very special moment of grace that a lot of people in America travel all the way to Pensacola for, Toronto for. I think there was a recent one at a college, but you just know that God is alive. No matter what your day has been, your life has been, suddenly everything changes. There's an open heaven, and truly the light of God is there. So in some of these international conferences where the word would advance to a new edition of the redemption of Jesus Christ, the history of it being released, understood, or revealed, well, all the wars would break out, all the crazy things would break out. However, something else would break out, a massive, massive turning to the word. Just like if you had a friend that was telling you a new thing and it was something that you either had in a dream or you had been studying, but now all of a sudden it made sense and you're like, oh my God, well, that was a new thing. This is correct, you know it is. Or even if you pray to God and you've lost your keys and suddenly you find your keys and you go and you express to all your friends and coworkers, this is what I did, this is what happened. So I knelt down and I prayed to God, and then this is what happened. That's parallel but exact in what the redemptive history is. It gives you that inner joy of knowing that you personally are being made aware that God is alive. So, again, in these international conferences where pastors from all over the globe, seminary professors from all over the globe, government officials from all over the globe, um, a striking audience would get together, and Senior Pastor would sign some of these books as they were being released. But the focus isn't so much on man who signed it, if you hear what I'm saying. It was that God Himself was with, hovering over, and made an open heaven, and somehow, by the grace of God, nations were together. By the grace of God, a new turn of the word was happening, like in the days of Josiah. Something was happening, like finding your keys a million times over, like, or, on blast. And suddenly, there you are in front of the one who has not only studied what you're about to receive, by a portion, but thoroughly received it from God, like finding the keys of the Bible. And so he is signing it in God's presence in an open heaven. So it's like God is giving it to you, unsealed and signatured or signed. Like, I want you to have it. So anyway, it was a very huge moment. And, uh, you know, things are things, but for a while, they're incredibly amazing. We can't take things with us to the kingdom. Uh, you grow. I understand it. Just recently, we were traveling and we met a woman who prayed for us, and she gave us a little piece of cloth that, she had made these little patches of cloth, like quilt patches, only smaller. Um, and she prayed over every one of them, and she was giving them out as Paul's handkerchief. And she wanted everybody to have traveling mercies, the blessing of God, and uh, the word to be made alive in them. And it was such a beautiful prayer that she prayed, and she handed us the piece of cloth, and we just blessed her and we prayed for her. She was blessed. She came out and saw the little heavenly embassy, and I hung on to that little piece of cloth for her sake. We know what happened when we prayed. It was the word. That is what's to be hung on to, not so much the paper. So for some, even though in a serendipitous moment of open heaven and revelation and grace pouring down from God the Father, to have a book signed and presented to you in that setting, it's you can only experience it. I don't want to try to put words to it, but somehow you eventually get it, what the word did, and you no longer need the material. However, it's priceless. You can't find that stuff at Target. You can't find that stuff at Walmart. You can't find that stuff at Disney World. You can't find that stuff on Netflix. You can't find that stuff anywhere in this world because it doesn't have the word. And so that signature, that book, it represents something that is set apart or holy from this world. And that's why if there's a signed copy or if it came from one of those settings, somebody is selling it for like $700 or something way beyond the 25 cents or $5 that you can buy them for at thrift stores. And we wanted to clear that up, and I hope I did. Now then, we also wanted to ask that by now we're sure that many things have changed in your life. We didn't make videos for a while because we had to go through a season of not wanting anyone to see us but Father. And what we found is that you can't get out of the way like that. The salvation that Father and Jesus have for us is our spirit, our soul, and our body. And the way that we found out was simply through loving one another through the dark times that you have to go through, the suffering times that you have to go through, the hardships, standing in front of death and walking through it. And I mean death, not, like a boogeyman fear at night. When you have the word in you and you're loving someone, thanking someone, that's where Father's love is perfected. It's not that you're giving glory to man, you're dead. But we found out from ourselves through the work that Father was doing, is doing, that when you love one another, that's Father loving you. if you're loved by your wife, if you're loved by a church member, if you're loved by someone, that's Father's grace while you're here, because nobody's going to cheerlead you to walk with God. Nobody's going to encourage you to go to a prayer meeting. Nobody's going to have a party because you read the Bible. You have to do some excruciatingly self-sacrificing suffering uh, to have the life that opens up to reveal Jesus Christ. But once it's revealed, he allows you to see that he not only controls everything, but he's right here in so many ways, making the place where you find him each day heaven. And it's like the original story of being born in a manger. The glory of God comes down to a dark place, and by that glory, he makes that place into a new place, and it eventually becomes a temple. So from a manger to a temple, all by the word coming down. Well, it's Genesis 1 over and over and over, from evening to morning, day. God abides in day. God is our light. And when we come to him through the word, we come honestly in our darkened state of need and inability to see him. He gives us the word. And from that word, we experience day, true light. And we can see to live by, build by, and love by. So we are trying to find something for you, just to remind you and close this video. So I'm just going to turn over to it. But let's all go from evening to morning to day together. It's Father's will through his word to you, to us, and everything that's needed in it, like all the components of honey. Did you know there's poop in honey? Yeah. Honey can do anything. It can be a balm, it can be a sweetener, it can be a salve, it can be something for your joints, but everything's in there. We thank you, and we'll talk again soon. And here's our little picture of what God's going to do for all of us today.